Bless us now, we pray, in Jesus' name. Let the church say amen. So the first of the teaching sessions today is managing the cost of living crisis. This session is going to be led by Elder Dean Wright, and I'm just going to read from the Convocation manual. The cost of living is rising fast, seen most clearly in increasing food prices and energy bills. At the same time, a national insurance rise and cuts in universal credit will see people's incomes fall further. This touches many of us directly, increases debt, anxiety, and despair as people find themselves unable to meet their families' needs. As Christians, we should care deeply about this crisis, but how do we apply the principles of our faith to tackling these issues? Amen, amen. At this time, let me present to you Elder Dean Wright in Jesus' name.
Hallelujah. God bless you, everybody. Shall we praise the Lord? Hallelujah. We're still in worship. We're still in worship. Truly, God is awesome and He's worthy to be praised. I'm truly honored to be in this position today. I'm humbled to be here today. We were in prayer this morning and we truly enjoyed the presence of God. There is something to be said about being in the presence of God. There is something to be said about giving God the first fruits of the day. So truly the presence of God is here. We want to continue with the mind of worship. I've been tasked with presenting this particular topic today. And this topic is managing the cost of living crisis. Something which is, or should be, relevant to each and every one of us here today. And the importance of it will surely become even more significant in the months to come, God willing. First of all, I have to greet our leaders, our overseers, and our bishop that was just here moments ago, and all of you wonderful saints of God. God bless you in the wonderful name of Jesus. Truly, God is worthy to be praised. So as Elder Neil had given you a preamble to this particular topic, I wanted to present to you some information about managing the cost of living during this financial crisis, as it were. And I think it's important that when we think about these things, that we're thinking about them from a practical standpoint. So some of the things that I'm going to speak to you about today are going to be just practical tips, things that will provoke your thinking, nuggets that perhaps you can take away from this session and apply to your daily living. I'm not saying that what I'm going to present to you today is going to solve all of your financial issues. If you're expecting that today, I think you're probably in the wrong session. But what I do aim to do is, by the help of God, is to just give you some encouragement and some tips that you can apply to your daily lives that will help you manage your finances and your affairs in the months to come. Amen? So the plan is, for the first portion of this session, I'm going to be presenting some information to you. And I suspect that there may be some questions that would come to your mind. Now, I don't want you to dismiss those questions, but what I do want is for you to have those questions in mind, because the second segment of this session, I'm going to invite a panel who have been prepared, or have been told that they will be part of the panel, and they're going to help me address any questions that you have. I don't know if our deacons or our deaconess is here. I'm going to ask you, if you can, to take some cards. So if any of the brethren have a desire to ask a question, I would ask you to just write your question down on the card, hand it back to one of the ushers, and during the Q&A session, we can address those questions. Is that okay? Amen, amen, amen. So we're going to start. Technology. All right, we're just waiting for that, but I can continue. Because what I wanted to just say to you first and foremost is that when it comes to managing your personal finances, saints of God, there's firstly one thing that you have to have in mind. So let me put this to you. In Mark 12:41-44, and the Gospel according to St. Luke 21:1-4, Jesus was with his disciples, and he was observing people giving their offering in the treasury of the temple. God bless you. God bless you. So as Jesus observed, I can just imagine Jesus observing individuals placing money and their offerings in the treasury at the temple. Jesus wanted to get the attention of his disciples. And as he observed that some of the rich were giving very large sums of money. He also observed that there was an old widow that had 2 small coins, and the Bible tells us that there were 2 mites, which are the smallest denomination of coins and tender that you could use at that time. Jesus said to his disciples that the poor widow had given more into the treasury than those that were rich and wealthy. They gave out of their abundance, meaning that what they gave was what they could comfortably do without. However, this poor widow, she gave everything that she had, leaving herself with nothing. I'm going somewhere with this. In 1 Kings 17, the Lord commanded Elijah to go to Zarephath, and there he would find a widow that would feed him during a 3.5-year famine, a drought. Elijah asked the woman for a cup of water and a piece of bread. The response of this woman was to say that all she had was a handful of flour and a little oil. I was planning to make a small piece of bread, she said, for my son and I, so that we could eat, and then after which we are going to starve to death. Elijah's response was that the Lord God of Israel had promised that your jar of flour won't run out. Your bottle of oil will not run dry before God sends rain for the crops. So what he was encouraging this woman to do was to give to the man of God first. And I say that to say this, that after doing what the prophet of the Lord had said, this woman had enough provision for herself, for her household, and for the man of God. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7-9 reminds us that God loves people who love to give. God can always bless you with everything that you need, and you will always have more than enough to do all the kinds of good things to others. Beloved, the cost of living crisis, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to repeat myself. The cost of living crisis is not a time for us to withhold from God. Lord have mercy, I think I just lost 50% of the room. Let me just talk to the other 50%. The cost of living crisis is not a time to withhold from God, but it's an opportunity to experience his providence. Amen? It's an opportunity to experience his providence. Amen. Amen. So there's a few particular areas of this topic that I wanted to address. We're going to go to the next slide, if it can be seen. And the first aspect that I wanted to speak to you about was personal budgeting. Amen? I don't want you to get nervous. This is going to be a comfortable session. I want everybody to feel like you can take part. And, I want you to be able to take something from this session and apply it in your daily living. So understanding your financial position is really important. So what I'm going to do is I need 2 volunteers. I'm coming down. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, my beloved, to put this. Actually, you know what? Not yet. First of all, can I ask you to stand halfway down that aisle? Just go halfway down that aisle, and I want you to face forward, face me. Can I ask you, please, to just come here? Thank you. All right, so my request is that my sister, God bless you, what's your name? Sister Grace. So Sister Grace is your destination. Okay? I want to ask you, don't ask me why, can you just turn around 3 times? Just spin around 3 times. Please don't get dizzy. That's 2. One more time. You can keep your eyes open, and I want you to walk towards Sister Grace. That's your destination. From here, you don't close your eyes. Your eyes are open. Just walk towards Sister Grace. Amen. Can you come back to us now, please? Quite a straightforward example. Very simple. You made your destination. Can you put this on, please? Make sure you can't see. And again, I want to ask you to spin around 3 times. And make sure you don't fall. Now, can you... One more time. Do one more. All right, keep one more. There you go. Keep going. Now, can you start walking towards Sister Grace? Same destination. Your destination is grace. Your destination is Sister Grace. Can you please make your way towards Sister Grace? No, you can't feel. No. All right, I'm going to stop you just there. All right, because you're just about to approach the altar. Thank you. Simple demonstration. You're able to take off the mask now. God bless you, Sister Grace. You may be seated. God bless you. God bless you. Can we give them a round of applause? It was a very simple demonstration, saints of God. All I wanted to show you is that when it comes to personal finances, the reason why I spoke about destinations is we cannot get from Monday to Sunday without planning financially. I cannot get from the 1st of August to the 31st of August without financially planning my month. I cannot get from January in the year to December of that same year without making a financial plan. And I'm not saying you have to go and see an accountant. What I am saying is that when it comes to personal finances, you have to have an awareness of what income you have. And then you have to have an awareness of what expenses you have within the month. When you have your income and you deduct your expenses, you're now left with your residual income. But if you don't know what your expenses are, how do you know if the income that you have is sufficient enough to cover them? How do you know that when you go out, that you're able to comfortably afford a Starbucks or a Costa and a cookie and find out that you're able to pay your travel fare to get to work the following day? Amen? Some may already do this, and so and to others it may be alien, but what I'm saying is that whether it's on a spreadsheet or whether it's on a piece of paper, it's important that you have an awareness of what income that you have. When you know your income, whether it's a salary, whether it's a pension, whether it's a benefit, whatever it may be, have an awareness of what expenses you have during the month or during the week. And when you've done that, saints of God, you have to plan. Ensure that you include all the expenses and be realistic. Be realistic. I know this is my income. I know this is the travel that I have to spend to get to work. This is my mortgage or my rental payments. These are the bills that I have. This is my mobile phone bill. These are all of these costs. This is my shopping that I have to buy. Be realistic. And when you have that awareness, saints of God, you find that you're able to know what I can spend from day to day. What element of that is discretionary, i.e., what element of that am I allowed to spend and know that all of my bills are covered? So if your income exceeds your expenses, any excess is disposable income. So that's money that you've got that is spare, whether you want it for saving or whether you just wanted to keep it for a rainy day. It's disposable income. Simple principle. So when I said in my comments, I was saying that it's important that we are realistic in what we're doing. So the next slide tells us about the importance of saving. The importance of saving. This cost of living crisis, we're fully aware of what's going on. And for those that aren't, understand that our national insurance contributions, the tax that we have to pay to the government to help for national government services, health, etc., it's gone up. The bills that we have to pay to the utility companies, it's rising, it's on the increase. Amen? So the cap that they've put on these companies is starting to rise. We're going to see increases, if you haven't already seen them in October. We're going to see them in January of next year. We have to plan, saints of God, so that we don't find ourselves in a position where we are financially struggling. Amen? If you're in a position whereby you can save, remember, a little is better than nothing. When I was growing up, I was always told, Dean, if you work and you earn £1, if it's possible, save 50 pence. Simple principle. And I know we're talking about the cost of living crisis, and we're coming. But it's important that we're able to save, saints of God. And the only way we know how much we can save is if we've planned our income and our expenditure. If we know what income and expenses we have, we then are able to say, okay, I can comfortably save this amount of money. Now, I'm fully aware that not everybody is going to be able to save something. But when the opportunity arises, saints of God, I'm encouraging you to just try and put a little bit aside for another day. You may not be able to do it every week. You may not be able to do it every month. But if we plan to save something, believe me, it will help. So I'm sure you're probably aware of some of the saving products that are out there. We have instant access saving accounts. Some of those saving accounts we can easily and readily draw money from. There are other accounts, there's ISAs, which are tax-free savings, where we can access some of them, but there are some of them where you have limited withdrawals. So constant withdrawals from some of these savings accounts are not permitted. Depending on your self-discipline, depending on your financial position, you can choose accordingly. But those are some of the things that we should consider. The next slide tells us that, and this is something that we should all have some awareness of, is saving tips when shopping. Everybody starts smiling. Wow. So, and I'm talking about grocery shopping, first of all. I know people are laughing and thinking about some of the clothes that they tend to go out and buy, but let's just deal with the grocery shopping. Beloved, before you go shopping, and I know most of you should probably do this, but I'm going to remind you. Before you go shopping, check what it is that you need to buy before you leave the house. And when you do that, beloved, what you're able to do is say that, okay, from my past experience, I know that all of these items that I've now listed are going to cost this amount of money. That amount of money is something that you probably should have made a note of when you made your personal budget. So now before I leave the house, I have an awareness of what my shopping is going to cost me. Amen? We've got up there on the slide, sometimes I shop at Sainsbury's and, they have this thing called smart shopping. So when you go in and you get your device, your hand device, obviously you've buzzed in your Nectar card, and I can go and I can check all of the things that I'm putting in my basket. And I'm checking my list, making sure I get all of my items. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to monitor the cost of what I'm putting in my grocery basket. So I'm not putting myself in a position when I get to the till that I say, oh Lord Jesus, I've spent too much. Very important. And what I would also say, saints of God, is that with regards to saving tips, and you might find this funny, if you're like me and you like food, don't go grocery shopping when you're on fasting. I don't know if, you ever been grocery shopping when you're on fasting? And you haven't planned on what you're supposed to be in the grocery store buying? And you take that trolley down every aisle. I need that. I need those biscuits. I need that cake. Everything that, not dinner for the week, everything that you want to eat when you break your fast. Saints of God, we have to be smart when we're going shopping. As much as possible, we need to plan our meals for the week. Plan your meals for the week so that when you're buying the groceries and you cook, I'm not just cooking for one day. And I know most of you probably do this, because I know my parents' generation and some of the older generation have always encouraged that you always cook more. So when I eat today, I'm able to take lunch to work for tomorrow. I'm able to have dinner when I come home from work tomorrow. So I've cooked twice, but I've covered about 5 or 6 days worth of meals. And that way I don't go to work and having to go to these expensive shops that charge you 10 or 15 pounds for some food that realistically, if you went to the supermarket, you could buy food for 2 or 3 weeks. Amen? I would also encourage you to take advantage of the discounts that you get when you're at these supermarkets. Saints of God, I know you get your Nectar points. Buzz your Nectar card in when you go to the supermarket. Buzz your Tesco Club card. You get points, you get discounts, you make savings. Utilize them. Amen? And I know some brethren in here, and I say this respectfully, sometimes when we go to supermarkets, if you go to Sainsbury's, they have a product called Taste the Difference. They also have products called Sainsbury's Basic. So if you speak to some of the marketers in here, they'll tell you that what they do is they try and differentiate the market. They try to differentiate the prices that they can charge individuals based upon their financial status. So there's some that think that I want the best product, so I'm going to get Taste the Difference. Well, saints of God, did you know that for the most part, those products are generally the same? So if you find that your grocery bills are starting to climb, there is no harm, saints of God, in just dropping a level in the products that you choose when you're shopping. Am I talking sense? Okay. And not only that, when you look for the items that you need to buy, make sure that you're getting value for money. So when the supermarket has offers on and you have the financial capacity to take advantage of that offer, buy those products. So when you buy them in larger volumes, they last a longer time. And so you find that you're not having to continuously replenish your shelves when you keep going shopping. There was one thing that I wanted to say before I moved on to the next slide, and that is, there are some platforms, there are some apps that we can utilize and get discounts when we're shopping. This was something I wasn't even aware of until a few months ago. There's an app called Quidco. I don't know if anybody knows of that. There's an app called Quidco. Quidco is a product that, if you download the app, they've got partnerships with a lot of different retailers and shopping outlets. And if there's products that you need, not necessarily just food, but other things, clothes or whatever it may be, you can search for an item or search for a company that sells that product in the app called Quidco. And if they have a partnership with that retailer, what they do is they've agreed to give discounts for purchases that you make with those companies. And then when you do that, you go and you buy those products online through those companies, and Quidco will give you the cash back that it stated. So over time, you'll realize that these little cash back items that you're getting will start to build up, and so you get a little cash surplus in the app called Quidco, and that's cash that you can draw out. Amen? Little nuggets and things that we need to take advantage of. And I know for some of you that are not so tech savvy, there are brethren that can help you. You have children, you have other brethren that can assist you in that endeavor. Amen? The next thing that I wanted to talk about was managing your bills. Now, I did mention earlier that the energy bills they're going up, they're going crazy. They're talking about some of the annual cost of utilities being in excess of £4,000. So the panic is starting to set in within the nation, and people are concerned about how they're going to pay their bills during the winter months. It's all right now when it's nice and warm and cozy and the heater's not on. I can go to bed, I can back the covers off me because I'm not feeling any cold. But beloved, sometimes when it gets to the winter months and it's cold, and even when you've got your duvet on, you can still feel the shiver through your bones because the cold's just penetrating the covers. That's when there's a concern about the amount that we have to pay for our utility bills. If possible, saints of God, pay your utility bills by direct debit. I only heard a couple of claps. Again, some of you may not feel comfortable with doing that, but saints of God, where possible, and again, it comes back to slide 1. Personal budgeting. You can pay your direct debits on the dates in which you specify based on your income, and you can be comfortable doing that. And when you pay by direct debit, saints of God, there are banks that will give you cash back for paying your direct debits. Simply by paying by direct debit, Santander will give you cash back. It might only be a few pounds, but it's something. And as that accumulates, you're able to do something because it's additional income. I would encourage you to do that. I would also encourage you that most of us have mobile phones. And I know that once your contract's end, if you're on a kind of a pay monthly, once your contract ends, obviously you may desire to have another phone or a new contract. Some of these companies, make no mistake about it, all they care about is their bottom line. They will charge you as much as they can charge you. And if you don't negotiate, if you don't barter with them, if you don't just accept what it is that they've told you, you will end up paying over the odds. That happens for your phone, for car insurance, for home insurance. Do not just accept the auto renewal. They are trying to take money out of your pocket. It was just a few months ago that my home insurance was due for renewal. Normally I take a look, and what I do is I take a look at what they charged me for the year. I then look at what they charged me last year. This year, they were trying to charge me 40% more than what they charged me last year. So now, as a result of that, what I did was I called them up and said, why is it that my insurance premium has gone up? I've made no claims. There's no reason to suggest that you should rise, my premium should go up 40%. Inflation isn't even 10%. Why are you charging me 40%? They have no answer. My response was, cancel the premium. Cancel the premium. I then went online and I went onto a website which you should all know, Go Compare. Amen? Go on Go Compare, you put in all of your details and it gives you a list of the companies that will offer you a price and they give you the premium. So you're then able to check the premium against what that auto renewal price was. Now I'm able to select the company that offers me the best deal. Whether it's home insurance or car insurance, saints of God, we have to make sure that we're diligent in checking what these companies are trying to take out of our pockets. Amen? Be diligent. And sometimes it can be time consuming. I accept that. But it's worth it. And if you're struggling to make time, put a reminder in your diary for a date and a time when you're able to sit down for 30 minutes and make those phone calls and do those internet searches. Amen? Amen. In your homes, I know some of us have this thing where wherever our foot treads, a light bulb has to be on. Everywhere, every room we walk in the house, we have to switch the light on. So when we turn around and we walk out the room, it's like we get amnesia and we don't switch the light off. So I'm walking around every room in the house and I'm switching on all the lights, and then I sit down and I'm relaxing and every light in the house is on. Saints of God, turn off the lights. If you're not in the room, what is the light on for? And not only that, I would say, make sure you utilize the efficient light bulbs. Use LEDs wherever possible. Some of these halogen bulbs, saints of God, they're expensive. The amount of energy that they use, they're expensive. And for those of you who have smart readers, you can even see how much you're paying. I don't know how diligent you are. If you haven't got some of us, if you have smart meters, you're able to see how much you've spent for the day. And sometimes you can look and you're like, okay, cool, I got through a day and it's just £2. And there's some days when, you're washing, and you're using the tumble dryer, you're using the dishwasher, and that daily cost has jumped up to like 10 or 11 pounds. You're like, God have mercy. We have to be diligent to monitor what we're doing. When you're washing the clothes, saints of God, let's try and fill the drum. This 1 and 2 item washing can't work. We have to be efficient in the way that we do our domestic duties. And I hope I'm talking to some of the brothers in here as well, because you make sure that you help your wife with some of the washing. Amen? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Everybody went quiet. Okay, so just the one final point I'm going to make on this in terms of managing your bills. Technology is advancing at a great rate, and we have these devices called hives. Yes? Wireless smart thermostats that we can use. Now, I know that we're generally in here, we're people of color, and generally where you find people of color, that they're people that like the heat. And so what you find is sometimes when you're not in your home, you feel that the heat needs to be blazing like you were there and it's the middle of winter. What these thermostats, these smart thermostats allow you to do is turn the heater on at the time at which you need it. Manage the time at which you need the heat, saints of God. If you're not in the house, or you're at work all day, what is the heater doing on? Just food for thought. Have a think about it. It's not, if you can use these thermostats and you can have, it can all be connected to your smartphone, and you can set timers, and you can ensure that the heater goes on an hour or two before you get home, so when you walk into the house, it's nice and warm and comfortable for you. And all of this allows you to save on your utility bills. I'm not saying take my word for it, but saying to God, try it. Just try it. That's all you can do. Just try it and see if we can start to see our energy bills come down, even in the midst of a crisis. Now, I'm going to go on to the next slide because time is running away. This is something that I'm sure that we can all relate, and the entire economy and all the inhabitants of the world are fully aware of: managing debt. Managing debt. Now, the cost of living crisis this is going to be one of the most significant areas for us to address when it comes to managing personal finances, managing debt. I'll put it to you, saints of God, that in order for us to manage debt, we have to make a conscious decision that we want to take the necessary steps to reduce or eliminate the debt. Let me say it again. We have to make a conscious decision that we will take the necessary steps to manage or to reduce or to eliminate the debt. So in terms of managing our debt, and I'm fully cognizant of the fact that we have debt. We have credit cards. We may have unsecured personal loans. We have all other kinds. We have store credit. It's important that if we find ourselves in a position where it's starting to get excessive, saints of God, go back to slide 1. Planning your finances. I've seen that the repayments of this debt is starting to get excessive. So what steps can I now take? Is there an option for me to be able to consolidate that debt so I can manage it into one monthly payment? What's the period of time that will be sufficient for me to repay that debt? So I can find out if I consolidate 4 different debts, I will find that the payments that I was making for those 4 debts will be far higher than the one single consolidated debt. Be sensible, saints of God. I'm encouraging you. Credit cards. I know some of us like to use credit cards, and that's fine. We have to. If possible, beloved, and we're trying to repay them and you're seeing your credit card bills rise, there are a couple of things that I would say to you is, 1, if possible, when it comes to your planning, make sure that you pay more than that minimum monthly payment. Because you're going to find that you're going to be in debt perpetually. And that's not what God desires of us. Be aware that we have to pay, if possible, more than that minimum monthly repayment. And if we're in a position where we said, I no longer want to use the credit card, saints of God, there are lots of credit card companies that offer you 0% interest for a period of time. But in order for you to repay that credit card in that period of time, you have to plan. I know I've got 12 or 18 months to repay this debt. I know that if I break down the payments that I need to make. That's what I need to put in my personal budget. Can I afford that? Yes, I can. If I can't, okay, I'm going to pay as much as I can for that interest-free period. Before the end of that interest-free period, I'm going to find another 0% interest credit card. But saints of God, when you've got that credit card, stop using it. If you're desiring, you've made up that your mind to repay it, stop using it. Put it somewhere, cut it up, give it to your spouse, bury it in your garden, just do something whereby you don't have to use the card. It's important, saints of God, and I know that we have different levels of self-discipline, and we're coming to that. If you know it's a problem, get rid of the problem. It's a simple principle. If you know it's a problem for you and you go online and you see something that you want, not something you need, something that you want, and you're like, boy, that jacket would look good on me, My wardrobe can't close because of the jackets in it. But that jacket looks good on me. But it's getting towards the end of the month, and I just checked my balance, and my balance is kind of low. But you know what? I've got this credit card that I could just... Every intention of using the credit card, and I'll pay it back next month when I get paid. Saints of God, we have to get rid of the card because it can become a problem. Avoid the temptation and get rid of the card if you've made up your mind to repay. But try, if you're repaying it, pay more than the minimum monthly repayments. Amen? Consolidate the debt wherever possible so that you're paying something that is a lot less than what you would pay if you're paying for the individual bills. There's one area that I wanted to touch on quickly before we get two areas before we get our panel up here. Saints of God, we have to have an awareness of what support that the government gives us. Some of us are not fully aware and have the knowledge of everything that the government offers. The government said that it's providing over 15 billion in further support that's targeting those that have the greatest need. So this means that almost 8 million, most of which are vulnerable households, will get £1,200 of one-off support in total this year to help with the cost of living. All domestic electricity customers receiving at least £400. So I think some of you will be aware of those amounts that we're going to receive. Energy suppliers will deliver this support to households with a domestic electricity meter over 6 months from October this year. Direct debit customers will get money credited to their account, while customers with prepayment meters will have money applied to their meter or paid via a voucher. So those that are a little concerned, support is on its way. The government is going to give you some support to aid with the payment of these utility bills later this year. There's going to be a £650 one-off cost of living payment for those that are means tested. So, more than 8 million households on means-tested benefits will receive a payment of £650, made in 2 installments, and this includes all households receiving universal credit, income-based job seekers allowance, income-related employment and support allowance, income support, working tax credit, child tax credit, and pension credit. Help is on the way. Be aware of it. One-off £300 pensioner cost of living payment is going to be received. So pensioner households will receive an extra £300 this year to help them cover the cost of living, the cost of their energy bills in the winter. And you might say that this is not going to be sufficient, but this is something that will help in that endeavor. And when we're talking about saving energy, saints of God, just to go back to it, we need to do all that we can to make sure that we're not wasting the heat within the house. Don't put the heater on and have all of the windows open. Don't have the heater on in every single room and you've gone to bed and you're sleeping in one room. Turn the heating down a little in some of the rooms that you're not in so you can maintain the heat in the house, but not all of the heat is blasting out in every single room. Amen? There's £150 of disability cost of living payment that's coming out. Around 6 million people in the country will receive disability benefits and a living allowance. So all of those that get personal independence payments, attendance allowance, armed forces independence payments, war pension mobility supplements, all of these things, you're going to be getting support from the government. And we know that they're saying that they're giving you on one hand, and on the other hand, they're taking from you. That's the reality, and we have to be aware of that, saints of God. Don't be ignorant of that. So I'm saying again, and I'm reiterating, when we're planning our finances, if we can, save an amount for discretionary items. Save some of the money that you've planned, and that any residual income, if your income is greater than your expense, you have a little extra, save it. Please, I'm encouraging you, or save as much of it as you can. For those that have children, you can get tax-free childcare. So the government will give you £2,000 per year. I'll say it again. The government will give you £2,000 per year to help with your childcare costs if your child is 0 to 11 years old. Yes, there are conditions, one of which you have to earn less than £100,000. That's one of the conditions. So it's as simple. You can just, if you earn less than £100,000 and you've got children that are younger than 11 years, go online, set up an account, and for every £8 you put into the account, the government will give you 2. And then what happens is you can set up a standing order from that government account to the childcare provider, if they're an approved provider, most of which established childcare providers in this country will be connected to HMRC. £2,000 per child. Bear that in mind, saints of God. These are things we have to take advantage of. I'm moving on quickly to the last slide before we get our panel up here and address any questions. Saints of God, I've touched on this. Exercise self-discipline and patience. Oh, Lord. Beloved, please, I implore you, I beseech you, by the mercies of God, spend money within your financial capacity. Can I get an amen? We've got a slide up there. On the one side, we have a Lamborghini. Wow. That represents what you want, what we want. But it just so has it that my bank balance tells me that Fiesta is what I can afford. So now I'm having this debate in my mind and thinking, but you know what? There's some finance deals, that could mean I could maybe try that Lamborghini for just maybe a couple of years. Beloved, we do not, and this is something that's very important, we do not have to keep up with the Joneses. Oh, Lord, have mercy. The Bible said that pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16, verse 18. And there was some quotes that I've read, and I know my dad shared with me this with his family, many of us, many times. It's credited to a columnist called Walter Winchell, and it was even used by Will Smith. We spend money that we don't have to buy things that we don't need to impress people that we don't like. Can I say that again? We spend money that we don't have to buy things that we don't need to impress people that we don't like. Saints of God, what is the point in spending money on things that we don't need just to impress somebody? I have to stay within my financial lane. I have to spend money according to the income that I'm receiving. Yes, I would like a Lamborghini, but I can't afford it. So then I'm not going to drive a Lamborghini. And I know sometimes, and can I be honest with you, that it's pride. It's pride. And as saints of God, if we humble ourselves, the blessings will come. But I want you to also understand is, God will not bless every one of us in the same way. Because believe it or not, not everybody in this sanctuary today can handle a certain amount of income or wealth. Can I be honest with you? And that's not to say any of us are better than others. But the truth and the reality is that we have to exercise self-discipline and patience. If I know that I need something, if I know that my shoe's got a hole in it or it needs to be rehealed or something, and I haven't quite got the money, saints of God, can we just wait? If it's something that can wait, can we just wait? If something doesn't need to be put on credit, if it's something that I need for my computer, or it's just an item of clothing that my wardrobe's full, but it's a nice item of clothing, can we just wait? Saints of God, we have to plan. I'm finished with this portion, and I'm going to invite the panelists up in just a second. I really want to encourage us to be patient with some of the things that we have to do. There are necessities in life. There are needs in life. But a lot of the time we find ourselves in financial difficulty because, one, we do not plan. And two, because we just spend without visibility. I can't get to my destination and to the end of the week and to the end of the month if my vision is impaired. My vision's impaired because I haven't planned. Simple concept, but it's something we need to apply. And if I've tried it and it helps me. I'm not telling you something that I don't practice. I've been working in the world of finance for in excess of 20 years. Beloved, I'm an accountant. I've been working in banks for over 10 years. I was in private equity for over 11 years. The world of finances is that's where I work. But not everything that I learned there is applicable to what I've been telling you today, because a lot of what I'm telling you today is common sense. A lot of it is some of the experience that our parents have told us that we choose not to apply. The cost of credit, it's real, it's coming, and it's important that we start to plan ahead of that. I'm hoping that there are some questions that you may have. If not, I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to raise some questions. But at this time, I'm going to ask our panelists to come forward and take a seat. Minister Sonia Thompson, Sister Keisha from the Southeast District. I'm going to ask Minister Daniel Simmons to come forward. I'm not sure if our pastor... Oh, he's here. Pastor Witter is at the back there. Sir, please, can you join us? Can we give them a round of applause? God bless you, sir. So what I've done is we've asked some of our brethren here to come forward and just to please take a seat, sir. Just to perhaps help me address any questions that may arise, because we're opening the floor for Q&A. I haven't received any cards. I don't know if there is any or any questions. Did anybody have any questions? If not, I'm going to throw some out. There's Deaconess. There's a question here. There's a question here with Dr. Davis at the front. Are there any more? We're going to address these first and foremost. Oh, have you written them down, Dr. Davis? Have you? All right. I'm going to put us in the hot seat. The panel here they're here to help answer these questions. There's another one there at the front. We're going to have them come forward. Okay, right. I'm going to read out this particular one, and if there's anybody on the panel that feels they're in a position to answer, would like to feed into discussion, please feel free to do so. This one says, many people cannot save right now in this crisis. Very true. A stitch in time saves 9, yes? And so, how many people do you think can save money in this time of crisis? Question, isn't it true to say that the horse has already bolted? Wow, yes. Panel, there's another hand back there. Is there anybody that would like to speak on that before I do? How many people do you think can save money in this time of crisis? Isn't it true that the horse has already bolted? Any thoughts? No? I'll start if you want. Oh,
Praise the Lord.
Mr. Daniel, go ahead.
It's a question that I guess is a personal question. We're not able to determine how many people are able to save, but perhaps as a guesstimate, there are probably quite a few number of people who are adversely affected by the cost of living crisis. But I think it's a case of what do we do to try and minimize the effect. There are some people that will be affected less than others, but what are the tips that we can put into practice in our own budgets, in our own personal experience, in our houses, to ensure that we limit the effects?
Amen. Thank you, Minister Daniel. Thank you. It's very difficult. It is very difficult to see what the impact is going to be and to quantify the impact on you as an individual or your household. It's difficult to save during this period. And like I said, we have to make that conscious decision to have the awareness that it may not be possible for us to save during this time. And that's okay. That is okay. But what you're finding is that the economy, they're trying to manage the economy. Inflation is rising. We're getting less for our money. Right? We're getting less for our money. So in order to counteract that, the Bank of England's raising its interest rates. It's becoming more expensive to lend money, but you're also getting more money or more interest on your savings. It's a bit counterintuitive because you're like, I'm having to spend more money. On the one hand, you're offering me more interest for my savings, but I'm having to spend more of my money because inflation's going up. They're trying to counteract it. That's what they're trying to do. And we know that inflation, they're anticipating it's going to be like double digits. We're going back to like Margaret Thatcher back in the 1979 when inflation was 13%. That's where they think they're going to be getting to during the end of this year. But we won't see the effect of their management of inflation until it starts to fall in the next year or two beyond that. But saints of God, if we can't save, just be aware that I know I can't save. But what I am going to do is I'm going to manage my personal financial position, which means I'm going to plan. So I know that there's going to come a time when I do have that excess income that I can put aside. But don't feel away if you're not able to save. Any other thoughts?
God bless you, brethren. It's difficult to save at this moment, but what I did in the past, I looked at my income and I looked at my outgoings. And what I had to do is to look at all my outgoings and see whether they were necessary. And if they were necessary, if it was that important for me to have those outgoings, I start canceling them. And when I start canceling them, I see that I've got a certain amount of money left in my account. And what I've done, all that I've canceled, I've put that away because I was paying it out. So I was determined not to use that money in my everyday circumstances. So what I've tried to do is, if I cancel an insurance that, you know what, it's not going to benefit me anything, what I've done, I try to put that away. And when you put that away, you tell yourself that's your little saving. Now, I always think of death, because in life, there is death. So you've got to have a plan also, that if you die, what's going to happen to you? So you've got to have a mind, what are you saving for? Are you saving for, whatever it is? So this is how I looked at my personal life. So just a little thought to say, don't pay out unnecessary bills when you don't need to. Because sometimes we take out some insurance that is not necessary. You'll find that you're paying the same insurance on your contents insurance. You're paying the same thing on your water rate insurance. So when you look at all your insurances, see what's covered and what's not covered, and you'll find that you're paying out too. So that's how I looked at it. God bless you, brother.
God bless you. Thank you, Minister Thompson. There's one question here that I want us to, and again, it's a very important question. How is the church going to support brethren that find themselves in financial difficulties? Practical help. And thank you, because that's prompted me to make mention of what I needed to make mention of. Now, most of us, if not all in here, attend the church, God bless you, and you have a pastor, most of which will have a trustee board in the church. And for those that are experiencing financial difficulties, it's a very sensitive subject, and it's one that you'd anticipate the pastor of the church exercising a great deal of discretion and also encouragement to their brethren to know that if you are experiencing difficulty, beloved, speak to your pastor. Bear in mind that the leader surely will get some information from you first before offering that financial assistance. Because if you've got a problem with spending, that's something that needs to be identified. Because the church should not be in a position where it's offering support and just feeding a problem. The church should be in a position where it's helping you, it's assisting in aiding you in arriving at a solution that will help you get out of that financial difficulty. Let's put away pride. If I'm struggling to pay my mortgage, I'm struggling to pay my rent, have a quiet word with your pastor. On the day of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2, they had all things common. What did they do? They came, they brought everything into one house, and they distributed as they had need. If there's a need, beloved, I have no doubt in my heart that any pastor in this room, that any trustee board in this room would be willing to aid that soul that is in financial difficulty. Let us not be proud. Let's not wait till the bailiffs are knocking on your door. If there's a problem, let's address it. And there's one thing that I wanted to just remind you of, saints of God, when it comes to this, and it comes to the point that I was making at the beginning. No matter how hard times get, it's not an excuse to not give to God. I don't care how small it is. Amen? And when you find, beloved, I've known from personal experience, I'm not going to tell you the testimonies, but I can tell you that when you give to God, when you make those sacrifices, He's going to give it back to you. He's going to open the windows of heaven. He's going to bless you in ways that you never imagined. And I'm not just talking materially as well, you know. There are spiritual blessings that we can obtain through our sacrifices. When we give unto God, it's worship. Amen? Okay, so I've got a question I'm going to throw out. Panel, please. If there's 3.5 years left on your mortgage and you're on a variable rate, would you advise that, if affordable, to pay it off, or if possible, would you pay it off because interest rates are on the rise? My simple answer is yes. If you have the finances to pay off that mortgage, then do so. And it's very simple to work out how much you would have to repay. And saints of God, even if you don't have the money and you've got such a small amount to pay off, you could even consider refinancing. If you're on a variable rate, think about getting an unsecured personal loan that would be on a fixed rate, and you'll find that your payments will be manageable because you know what you're paying every month. If interest rates are continuously changing, then your payments are going to continuously change. Fix the repayments that you're making. So I hope that has addressed that particular question. Any thoughts, Pastor Witter?
Yes.
God bless you.
You said so much earlier on, and you can negotiate even you hold some mortgage. I done this once that I owe a particular bank £16,000. So I rang them up and said, well, I'm a pensioner. I want to clear this debt, but I give you 8,000. And they said, oh, no. So in the end, we negotiated for £8,600.
Amen. Amen.
I got a van to pay off, and I rang them up. I said, well, I'm a pensioner. I want to clear the debt. And they gave me a figure. I said, no, I'll pay so much. I think I saved £4,000 on that. And you telephone, I'm talking about insurance. I used to pay £6 per month, and my phone dropped. So in English, it fell out my pocket some reason. So when I rang up the insurance, they said, what happened? I said, well, it fell out. It fell on the floor. What you mean? I said, you know when something falls? They make all sorts of excuses not to pay out. So what I've done since then, as many of you know, you get a covering that you pay, might be 12 or something pounds for it, and your phone. So I don't pay that insurance anymore.
Amen.
But it was a question that asked earlier on that I want to look at. My mother used to say, something, make hay while the sun is shining. And as a child, I didn't know what they're talking about until I came to this country and see the roll of hay. Didn't know it was grass. We were calling hay at that time. Okay. Now, we were taught that the pennies take care of the pounds. Now I go on the street, I see 1 pence, I see 5 pence. Nobody picking it up. So in short term, don't spend more than what you earn. I don't know what the presentation have about the Jones. But don't keep up with the Jones.
That's right.
don't look for high company. I done a lot of things in this country, so I was a developer at one time. And some people didn't know me, and when they come and see me, oh, they want to go to a hotel with me. I said, well, when I had nothing, you didn't know me. Why should I need your friendship now? Stick to the people you know. And I don't know if some of you seen a Sunday school, a backdrop in the Sunday school book some years ago. This brother didn't have a car to go to work. And he wanted to take his family to church, and he prayed to God. God told him, I don't know whether some vision he tell him, go and order your car. And he went and ordered that car. The money came to pay for the car and insurance. Another brother heard his testimony. So he went and ordered a car. So what God worked for my brother here and my right doesn't mean it's going to do it for my sister and my left. But going back, I remember the 60s, 1963, when Bishop Simmons, with that derby hat, he baptized me in that cold thing in Gibson Road. After that, he mentioned about the saints have things common. I used to have a shop. I would bring a bag of rice, a drum of oil. Everybody bring what they could, and we had things common. Amen. I didn't realize that some poor people was in England. So we help each other. When I had the shop, I didn't open shop on a Sunday. I used to send baskets or boxes of things to people who haven't got anything. Now, just one, I'm going to pick on two persons, one sister and one brother. I'm going to pick on my friend Bishop Simmons, and I'm going to tell you the reason. The sister over there can't see your face quite, but the one in the front seat just there. Yeah, this one. I don't want to put you on a spot, so I'm going to say just assume that you're in a problem. Okay, and what I would ask you to do is give me the opposite answer to what he will say. I'm going to call you John. Brother John, you're in a financial difficulty. Things are very hard with you. That's what I'm putting in your mind. But Brother John, how are you? And that's the reason. Did you hear what he said? He said, I'm good. And that's why some of us can't get help. Because as long as you're good, I don't have to give you anything. I take people to store, especially they come up from Jamaica in the cold. I buy them suit. I don't know all sorts of things. Now, the sister here, I just want you to stand up for me. I'm just going to show you. Not trick. It's not a trick. I'll tell you what I'm, yes, ma'am. Now, I went somewhere, and I can use you just as an example. I thought I gave that sister 20 pounds. I want you to pray for what I give you, okay? Hold in your hand and pray for it. Not yet. So, when I thought I gave her 20 pounds, I walk away and I look behind me, and she had it in the ear. Giving God thanks for it. When I went home, it wasn't 20 pounds I gave her. It was 50 pounds. So I couldn't go back to her and say, sister. You know that 50 pounds that I gave you? You would say yes. But I only want to give you 20. But when I look up and see the prayer that she gave for that 50, I thought it was 20. I remember one Wednesday night, and I don't like to say the spirit, because some of us get caught up, and because there's many spirits. Sometimes it's my mind. Thank you. Sometimes it's my mind, and sometimes it's God. Hope I'm not taking the time. You want me to hold?
Finish that thought.
Yeah. So,
quickly.
something said to me to give that sister some money. And as soon as I gave her, she held it up again and she said, it's going to Jamaica now because my daughter is in need of it. So God will provide. But there's some people, when they find that the pastor, I'm in the wrong seat, some people don't give anything in church. But they blame the church and want the church to give everything. So what I used to do, I'm not a politician, but if I give 1,000, God gave me 10 back. That's what used to happen to me. God bless.
God bless you. God bless you, Pastor Witter. God bless you. Just trying to deal with a couple of questions because we've literally got eight minutes or even less. Right, there's a question here. Government support. Do we have to apply for government funding or will we just receive it? With regards to what I spoke about moments ago for the additional support for utilities, for the most part, you should get that automatically via direct debit or it will be accredited to your prepaid meter. For tax-free childcare support, you need to apply for it. You need to go online. If you're unable to do so, please see somebody that could assist you in doing that. That's one question. What basic suggestions would you give to young people for pensions, budgets, or saving? Any thoughts? Any pointers? Any experiences that we've had that would help in that endeavor? Try and keep it brief if we can. I'm trying to get through some questions.
Can you say the question again?
All right. What basic suggestions would you give to young people for pensions, budgets, or saving? Any of those three or all?
Pension, budget, and saving. Well, I know if young people are working, your employer normally have a pension scheme going. So that's one thing that they would encourage you to pay into the pension. Budgeting, which Elder Dean already talked about planning. You know, if you know you've got an income coming in, so you've got a budget. Now, I work into a school and I've got a budget to work by. And if I went over that budget, I maybe wouldn't have a job today because they expect me to stay in my budget. And so this is what we have to do in our personal life. Stay in our budget, have a plan. And I'm not saying sometimes you may not, depends on maybe you have an emergency bill coming or something like that. But I would say, stay in your budget, work out a plan. And if you've got a plan, and just don't go, some of those smartphones that you've got, praise the Lord. I'm not telling you that you can't have smartphones, but these are the things that you got to look into, young people. It's not everything that is out there you should go after.
Amen.
Because it will break your pockets. It will break your pockets. So you can find somebody who can help you to manage your finance also. And things like that you can do. You want to say something?
Yeah, just from a young person's perspective, if you live at home, save your money.
Amen.
If you're at home with your parents, save your money. Because when you go into the real world, it becomes a shock to your system. When you start having real responsibilities, your parents say, oh, turn off the light, and you're moaning, but as soon as you start paying those bills, you start to find out. So, and another thing about don't be under pressure to buy things, like Sonia was saying, to keep up with people. I've learned, my mom always said to me, don't put your basket where you can't reach it. And I live by that principle. If I don't have it, I put down until such a time when, I buy the car I buy because I can afford the insurance, I can afford the petrol, I can afford to take it to the garage. It's not just, so affordability and stuff like that is all about, it's more than just, I've got the money to pay for it. You have to think about the wider implications. So I have to pay insurance, I have to pay MOT, it has to be serviced. All of these kind of things, sometimes just look at things on face value, but it's more than that. So young people, if you live at home, save your money.
Amen.
Save money.
God bless you. God bless you, Sister Keisha. Sound advice, save your money. And just one quickly, because we've got a couple of minutes, just with regards to take 10. Oh, God bless you, Bishop. God bless you. Just with regards to fuel prices, we're fully aware that they're going up, and one pertinent thing that Sister Keisha was talking about was affordability. Saints of God, I noticed that we're in a day and age where we have 3 or 4 cars in one household. God bless you. We're all going to the same destination, and all 4 cars have to go. But mom and dad, they leave after service quick, and I want to hang around and talk to some of the saints of God. You know how much fuel is costing these days? I had a shock it was a few months ago when I went to a petrol pump. You know, some of them stop at £99. Shock of my life. I went to a pump. It hit £99 and my car wasn't full. The reality of energy prices and fuel prices, it's real, saints of God. Not everywhere that you go, you have to drive. If you can walk to the shop, walk to the shop. Some of us, we might have, in our workplaces, we might have medical insurance. I know we're in a time where people like to walk and keep up their step count. So, some plans you have, if you get a certain amount of points, you get discounts. So I know that if I get 12 points a week, which means I have to walk about 18,000 steps, every week I get a free coffee from Nero. A coffee costs nearly £4. That's £4 I don't have to spend, Minister Daniel. Get a free coffee. £4 I can use for something else. Amen? Or even make your coffee at home. I know some of us like to buy Costa and Starbucks. What happened to Nescafe? Blue Mountain. Hallelujah. All right, so I've got a point here. Most of our senior saints, our treasured saints, are missing out on benefits because of pride. I'm just reading out what I've got here. They won't listen, or are reluctant to listen, to say they've worked all their lives and don't need help. I've in some ways spoken about that. It's important, saints of God, that we don't let pride get in the way. If there's help that we can get, let us accept it. If you're not aware of it, speak to somebody who can help you find out. And you know what? The power of communication, saints of God. If there's something that I don't understand, if there's a government support that I'm aware of, but I don't know how to get it, ask or pick up the phone. If my utility bills are going up, and I've just said that we're going to start to charge you £350 a month for your utilities, I'm like, hold on, I was paying £150 last month. I don't understand what's happened. I'm going to pick up the phone. The power of communication, saints of God. Anybody got anything to say on that before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think that especially about the older people, well, might be like myself, we're very proud. And a lot of people can get help, but they refuse it. Amen. Because I used to step in the boat myself. I don't want anybody to put me in. But those days are gone. We are fortunate because we're living longer now. And let me say this, that the medication, some of the medication that we're getting from the doctors is killing us. Amen. I've seen a doctor, I said, look, I'm a doctor, and I can't tell the difference of this fake stuff. So I said to people, if you had a headache and you went to the doctor and gave you medication, and you're getting worse, stop taking it. I proved that from the 60s. So it's a combination of, don't put all your trust in the doctors because they mess you up.
Amen. God bless you. God bless you, Pastor Witter. Got a question here that says that I made mention earlier that of saving products and choosing these products that match your discipline. Could you please elaborate on what this means? Okay, so what I was simply saying is that you might, if you're putting savings away, if you're taking advantage of some of the savings and ISAs, you might be aware that you know you've put that aside, but you're fully aware that something may pop up and you may need to make withdrawals. Be aware, saints of God, that there are some ISAs that don't allow you to take advantage of that tax-free saving if you are making withdrawals. So if you know you need flexibility, if you know you may need to tap into those resources, make sure you choose a saving product that allows you to make withdrawals. Amen? Hope I've answered that particular question. A question here, can you explain how we can improve our credit score? Oh, okay. Credit scores. Credit scores, a measure of, basically, in no uncertain terms, how risky you are in terms of when it comes to actually getting credit. And what I would say is that the ways in which your credit score starts to fall and starts to diminish is if you don't pay your debts on time, if you don't pay your bills on time, if you don't pay your credit cards on time, if you don't pay your mortgage. Saints of God, make sure we plan so that doesn't happen. If you're applying for credit, understand when the credit searches are done, it affects your credit score. If I go to get credit, if I'm applying for credit somewhere, and they do a credit search on you, it affects your credit score. So then if they reject you for the credit and you go to another credit provider, they realize that another search was done just a couple of days ago and then your credit score is affected. And this can impact the kind of finance that you're offered and ultimately the interest that you're charged. And sometimes you might find that you're rejected by certain credit providers. But be aware of those kind of things when you're thinking about your credit score. I have got a statement here which says to bring to your attention that the brethren need to bear in mind when you're buying appliances, please try, again we're talking about energy, and try and buy appliances that have an A+ energy rating. This is a minimum rating which will help you save energy. So these are things that you have to be aware of. Have an awareness of the energy rating of the appliance that you're buying for your home. I'm not an expert on that, but I know somebody in here probably is. And that's something that I wanted to bring to your attention. There was one here that I wanted to just make mention of again. I'm going to reiterate because I know we've got to finish. Somebody's asked here that if somebody's on a relatively low income, how do they start, manage, introduce tithing and offering into a tight budget? Relatively low income, how do I start, manage, introduce tithing and offering into a tight budget? Can I be honest? So every month, I get a pay slip. So I know that on that pay slip, I get the top line. That's what my employer pays me. Guess what? I don't get that. I have income tax. I have national insurance, my pension. Some of us might have a travel loan. You might have a gym membership and subsidy. And then you realize that the bottom line looks nothing like that top line. But what I have realized also is when I look at my pay slip is that that top line is the gross pay and the next line goes to the government. I don't see it. It doesn't belong to me. And therefore I cannot spend it. I'm going to encourage you, saints of God, and some of you may disagree, but I'm going to say it anyway. The Word of God tells us that we're to honor God with the first fruits of our increase. Can I say that again? Honor God with the first fruits of our increase. I've always maintained that when we talk about tithe, we talk about the first fruits of our increase. Saints of God, it does not belong to me. And I know that you might say that there are people that are in different financial positions. Sometimes, there's months where you've tithed and it's going to burn. If you find and we're going to come back to this, if you find yourself in financial difficulty, what I would say is, give to God what is due to God. And then if you need to have a conversation with your pastor and sit around a table, let's have that conversation. There's too many accounts in the Word of God that tell us that when you rob God, things happen that you do not want to happen. We only have to read in the book of Acts the kind of things that would happen when you rob God. When we come into the house of God, saints of God, and we've made up in our mind to make a sacrifice to God, and it's in a monetary way, give it to Him. Because if you walk out of this sanctuary having made up your mind that you're going to give it to God, saints of God, there's a certain principles that God has given us and He's encouraged us to maintain within our lives. And if we're to give to God what is due unto Him, trust me, I'm a living testimony. I know there's other testimonies in here that people can raise their hands that God has blessed them immeasurably. If you're young in the faith, tithe may be something that's alien to you. But be encouraged that we're to give unto God what is due unto Him. And trust me. He will bless you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We've got to come to a close. I'm conscious of the fact that we've got a break. There's going to be a pause. I really do. Please, can we give God thanks for the panel? Minister Daniel Simmons, Pastor Witter, Sister Keisha, and Minister Thompson, we give God thanks for you. God will bless you for the time that you sacrificed today, and the experience that our brethren have allows us to learn, because I've learned some things today, and I truly hope that you're able to take something away to move forward. But please, saints of God, let us communicate and not pride get in the way during this difficult time. But we truly can prosper in a time where the world is suffering difficulty. God has made provision for us. He's Jehovah Jireh. He's my provider. Hallelujah. I'm going to experience the providence of God throughout this difficult time, no matter what. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I do my part. I'm going to give unto God what is due unto Him. And saints of God, be led by the Spirit. If you've made up in your mind to give an amount, and when you come into the house of God and the Spirit of God moves upon you to double what you were going to give it. Hallelujah. I'm not saying anymore. I'm going to hand this over to Overseer Simmons at this time. God bless you and thank you for your patience in Jesus' name.
Now, I wonder if you can give God the praise and give God thanks for Elder Dean Wright. What a wonderful session. What a very informative session. Thank you, panelists. Very informative session. And I'm encouraging all of the pastors in here, And in fact, I might even get this up online, but it's very, very important. I want us to continue these conversations when we get back home. All right, and I heard non-pastors saying yes. That means the members would love for this to continue, pastors. The members need this to continue.